the big, beautiful bill passed with, went through all of the different tiers of the government. And the big thing that all the real estate guys are talking about is the bonus depreciation piece and how that is back indefinitely. What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's episode of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. My name is Mike DeHaan. I am the host here with my co-hosts Dan Austin and Dylan Cook. And today we have a special guest, Greg Helbeck, who has been on the show with us before. I really should have looked and seen what episode numbers they were, but I don't know. Go Google Collecting Keys Greg Helbeck. You'll find him on there. But Greg, really quick, just for people who don't have context for who you are, give us a 10-second intro, who you are, what you do, and why you're awesome.
Yeah, I'm an off-market investor in Washington and New York, and I've been doing this business for 10 years now, done probably 400 properties. And I pretty much do everything minus creative finance. I've done a few of them, and I think that's kind of weird. So I stick to mostly cash offers. And I definitely have a lot of experience with like off-market bullshit. So
yeah, absolutely. So
the bullshit.
Need it all. Yeah.
Right
Need it all at this point.
Yeah. And if you guys have not listened to Greg's show, what's your show called one more time?
It's called the Real Estate Investing Fast Track.
That's right. Yeah, Real Estate Investing
Fast Track you to deals.
There you go. Perfect.
It's true.
It's another great real estate show to add to your repertoire along with Collecting Keys. And Greg's also a great operator if you can't tell. Right on, guys. If the first time here, this is the Real Estate Operators Show for operators by operators. Well, we are rolling into this show today. It is July 8th when we're recording this. And one of the big topics of conversation, which we should dive into, I don't like to be overly political, but it is a big thing, I guess I'd say in the real estate world, is the big, beautiful bill passed with went through all of the different tiers of the government. And the big thing that all the real estate guys are talking about is the bonus depreciation piece and how that is back indefinitely, which I always think is funny they phrase it that way because it's really just back until the next people come in and fucking get rid of it again. It's been one of the most common discussed pieces amongst the bill, amongst real estate folks. And I guess essentially what it allows you to do is it allows you to take that bonus depreciation moving forward so you can reduce your income and your tax even more as a real estate professional off some of the assets that you acquire. And you had a bunch of other bullets on this, Dylan, related to it. So you had Section 179, expensing limits doubled, 20% pass-through deductions on net rental income. Dylan, for those of us who aren't as smart as you, make it easier to understand.
What is it?
I mean, it's just a couple of bullet points related to the bonus depreciation.
You idiot. Do you know what it means?
And then
actually, Dylan, there's like five.
There's like five. And I want you to explain it so all of the newbies that are listening can understand.
Okay, so let's just start at the top. The bonus depreciation back indefinitely. So a quick example, if you have a property that you bought for $120,000, you can't depreciate land. So let's say the building's worth $100,000. You can take $100,000 off your income for that year if you're a real estate professional. And you can kind of play with that, if you have a spouse that has high income, or it can carry over to following years. Section 179, that's like, when people buy cars and try to reduce them, that's basically expanding those limits on what you can pass and how much you can pass through.
Okay. So can we get a G-Wagon for Collecting Keys then and write it off? Is that what you're saying?
I would say yes. Yeah.
There you go,
Mike. I mean, I'm not a tax advice, but I would say, yeah.
We're going to need to have money in Collecting Keys first.
Yeah,
that's the real problem.
That is the problem. I don't have $250,000.
No, we didn't.
The debt ceiling got raised by $5 trillion, which is the biggest one-step increase in history. If anything, that just means that. What do you mean? That's a fact. It's numbers.
That's fake news, bro. They were going to stop the spending. Didn't you pay attention to the campaigns?
Dylan, you're
that's some liberal propaganda. The Trump campaign was stopping the.
I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm just saying it happened.
I'm just saying you're wrong.
Yeah. Okay. And then opportunity zones didn't really change. They're kind of just still there. And for opportunity zones, basically, if you have, let's say $100,000 in capital gains, like from selling stock or whatever, you can take those gains, put in an opportunity zone. If you hold it for at least 10 years in that opportunity zone, then your capital gains taxes go away. Mm-hmm. And then 20% pass-through deduction on net rental income. So if you made $100,000, you can say you actually made $80,000 just from that write-off being in the tax code.
Okay, so that's
That's
basically just
interesting.
covering like expenses. Is that what they're saying? Like, that's
Yeah,
the
I mean,
theory
but this
behind
is
that?
a net number, so like it's taking a tax off of the net amount, so it's just like a free 20%, honestly.
Gotcha.
So you can
They had
discount your net rental income by 20%.
On your taxes, yes.
It's
Yeah.
from any pass through entity, right?
Any
And
pass-through entity, that's
rentals like LLCs and S corps and stuff like that. Is that what it comes
So,
down to?
Dylan, what
Correct,
about
not a
this?
C corp, but an S corp.
Not a C. Yep.
Yeah. I bought a condo for 145 grand in January. So that was 2025. There's no land value. It's literally, it's got 4 walls around it. So can I take that 145 purchase and stick that against my active income?
Yes,
at this
as long as
point?
it's the rental for you.
Yeah, it's a rental. Yeah.
Yep.
Holy shit.
there you
That's
go.
fucking awesome. Damn.
Yeah.
This is why a lot of high W-2 people love the 100% bonus depreciation.
You got to have a long term vision though, or be willing to 1031. That's the killer though. Like if you plan to 1031 till you die kind of guy, or you just plan to never sell your property, then you're good to go. Because
Well,
otherwise
even
you
when
got
you
to pay
sell
that
it-
back.
I know Mike
Yeah,
likes to
you
point
gotta
out,
pay
you
tax
got to pay it back, but it's at 25% of the value. So even if you took $100,000 in bonus depreciation, you only pay back 25 grand. So you have a spread of 75
Yeah,
grand
but-
that you're still ahead.
Well, but you still got to account for that, right? Because you're lowering your income by that much. So it's not like you're saving $100,000. You're reducing your income by $100,000. So your tax savings on that.
Yeah,
would be
you're
whatever
reducing
your-
it. Like if you net $1 million and then you got 300 grand of property write-offs, your net
Correct.
effective income is 700 grand and you're going to pay taxes on 700 grand.
Exactly. So your savings is going to be the difference between whatever your tax rate was and that
Yeah.
25% they're going to take from you anyway. So that's where a lot of people get it wrong. Is they basically think I'm saving $100,000 on taxes.
No,
That's straight up
no.
false
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
stupid. But that depreciation recapture, right? It is important to consider that because to Dan's point, if all of a sudden you have to pay that $25,000 back, the problem is most people don't think that way, right? And all of a sudden is they go and they sell the property and they go to get their tax bill that next year and they're like, fuck, I owe how much money? Like I didn't count for that at all. I was buying boats and shit. And because like that's just how the average schmuck works that fully buys into this kind of stuff. The ones that are talking the loudest about it on Facebook, they don't think about that, right?
Yeah.
If they did, they would be focused on making more money where it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't need to stress out about this and make this their whole personality now.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
don't buy real estate just for the tax benefits, for sure.
No,
but
totally.
if you're making $500K a year and you could offset $500,000 worth of income, and then you could even go a step further. Let's say you had a traditional IRA that you want to convert to a Roth because that's based on your income. Well, now you can do it at a lower tax bracket. So you can get levels to this down the line. I mean, I won't say this out loud or like who it is, but there's a person in GoAbundance who like his kids were on Medicaid because his AGI on paper was nothing, right? His gross income was basically nothing.
Yeah.
Well,
His
he
kids
can
are on
suck it now.
Medicaid for $10 million. Yeah.
He can fucking suck it now because that's gone too, motherfucker. So
Yeah.
jokes on you. You
That
lost
is
that as
true.
well. But yeah, and on this point too, is if you are a higher income person, definitely don't ever invest as like an LP in a deal where the only upside is the tax benefits, because I guarantee you that person is about to rob you. Because that seems to be like the number one play for all of the syndications and the GP deals that have gone sideways over the last number of years. Is they're going there finding their doctor friends and their dentist friends and their lawyer friends and saying, hey, would you like to reduce your $1 million tax bill to $500,000? Awesome, let's go and put you into all these properties. I will give you all the depreciation as a limited partner, and basically I'll get the equity, and then you can not pay taxes. And then they just steal your money, and that entire deal sucks.
Yeah, but even with that scenario, without giving like accounting advice, if they're not a real estate professional and they're a full-time doctor, they can only write off their passive losses. They can't write off their active income. They'd have to be a real estate professional to do that.
Yeah,
so true.
That is true. So what a lot of them will do is they'll like, so my wife is going to go and get a real estate license,
gotcha.
right? And then she's going to be involved in the day-to-day doing the bookkeeping.
File the taxes jointly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they'll do some bullshit, and their wife hasn't, she sits on cupcakes for a living, but she has a real estate license now.
Has a real estate license. That's really all you need. Like if you have a real estate license, it's pretty easy to justify real estate professional.
Anyways, so how are things for you, Greg, out there in Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. I knew we were talking offline before we hit record. I've found that at least right now that it's easier to buy houses from sellers, and it hasn't been hard to sell them. So this is a very good opportunity for us to capitalize on a lot of our opportunities, because about 3 months ago, it was a lot harder to buy houses and it was still easy to sell houses. So recently I've seen it's just the acquisitions have been much easier, and we haven't seen a problem with any retail flips or assignment deals. So I told
Greg,
today,
not to cut you off, are you saying easier to sell to both end buyers and to retail buyers? Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Yep. Novations, the whole thing. So I'm like, we got to squeeze all the juice we can out of this, because you don't know when the market's going to pivot next. And I've also seen that, at least in some areas in New York and even Seattle, like the Seattle Metro, like if you're above the median, it will sit. It all has to do with inventory. But if you're below the median and you're in a good price point and you underwrite like a professional, not like a fucking idiot, most likely you're not going to have an issue selling. But there are some other areas I've seen in the country where, if you're in Florida or Texas, it's like a fucking falling knife that you're trying to catch. Right. So you really got to know your markets now.
It's kind of funny, Greg, because you've been in real estate for longer than all of us, for 10 years. Yeah. And the entire time, at least it sounds like, you've done one of the biggest things that most OG real estate guys swear against, is you operate in blue states. You've done Washington, you've done New York. Made money, yeah. And then when I first heard about you was when we were in Ryan Dossey's group, and you were in San Diego at that point. I don't know if you're doing business there.
So I flipped there until I left. I moved there in 2018, and I got out of there in 2023, and I made money every year in that market.
Let me ask you this. Do you own rentals in all those states?
I don't own rentals in Washington or Cali, just in New York and Pennsylvania, which Pennsylvania is a purple state.
Yeah. I would say holding rentals is where people would think it's more risky, but I've only made money in blue states.
Yeah, so. I definitely, I'll be honest with you guys. Right now, we are getting pounded in the rear end with rentals between vacancies and evictions. And I will say the blue states fucking suck for that, because you can't evict people. So if you have a bad tenant that you place, or if you inherit a bad tenant, you really do get fucked. Like, as a landlord, like, it's absolutely insane. I had a guy get arrested while he got evicted at the same time, and he like tore my entire property up to smithereens. Like, it's nice. Completely, like, it's a health violation at this point.
That sucks.
And I haven't gotten a penny in income on that since October, and I won't be able to rent that out until September. So that's basically a year of no income and consistent. Thank God I don't have a mortgage on it. But still, it's still like every month I got to pay the common charges and the taxes and all the other bullshit. So if you're a landlord, I probably wouldn't recommend a blue state unless you live there, because it is a little bit easier if you're local. But in terms of flipping, I've found that the blue states have been better real estate markets. Like New York City suburbs has always got good demand. There's a lot of money there. Seattle's the same thing. San Diego was exactly the same thing. So I think if you're flipping houses, I've found that the blue states, even though that's the only states that I'm familiar with, have been very, very good for transactional stuff.
Right. Makes sense.
Is there any kind of rent relief, or landlord relief in New York? Because Washington does have that. Is if you follow the rules.
For tenants or landlords?
For landlords. I've been the beneficiary of this. I had somebody that didn't pay me rent for a year and a half, as long as it took me to get them out.
Holy
and then
shit.
when I finally did, I essentially got a payment from the state government for 14 months worth of rent. So I ended up missing out.
I feel like that was like a COVID thing, though. I don't feel like they do that now.
Did they end up rolling it down? Because it was still going after COVID. I remember it was active as recently as last year.
I bet
it might have been temporary.
There's no
I got one ERAP check from the state because I got fucked by a tenant, and they paid me like $10,000, and it probably cost me $25,000 to get that fucker out after we paid him and got the lawyers involved and didn't get paid rent and had to pay the mortgages. So I got some money back, but I didn't get everything. And a lot of the properties I buy are hairy. So like, I know going into these deals that they're going to be a shit show, but I get them at the right number. So I'm not really pissed off when I'm, getting somebody arrested at my property. But you gotta, the thing I say about rentals is like, if you're not, established from like a, flipping standpoint and like a financial solid baseline, you don't fuck around with rental properties, especially in blue states, because dude, this year alone, in terms of like operating cash in and out, not equity, just cash in, cash out, I'm at $55,000 of loss. Because of vacancies, turns, cap improvements, evictions.
Over how many properties, Greg, if you don't mind me asking?
11 properties. $55,000 in cash gone. So
rentals
can
suck. I would say
they fucking suck. And I told my girlfriend who helps me with the rentals, I said, it is fucking harder to get a good tenant to rent my damn property than it is for me to sell a property on the damn MLS. And it makes no sense.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
they lie and they waste your
flaky.
time and they're flaky and they're doing weird shit, dude.
Yep.
Always.
They don't do your process. Like, you don't have to be a hedge fund manager to rent for me, but like you got to have a decent credit score and make 2.5 times the rent and not be like a terrorist.
Right.
That
usually helps.
To find somebody who actually will comply with that and meet that like pretty fair standard is hard. Right.
Yeah.
And I had my cousin fuck me over last week. He told me he was going to take one of my condos and I held off. There was another applicant and that guy was really qualified. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to rent to my cousin. Like, it's all good. Cousin texts me on Monday morning. Hey, I'm not taking the place. I can't afford it. God. I go, what the fuck, bro?
Man,
that sucks. Dude.
I got a new all-time low credit thing there. 402, I think was what I saw on a credit application.
402?
Yeah.
In the fours?
Yeah.
I don't even think I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
I've never seen in the fours. That's a legendary.
He's almost in the threes.
That's
bad.
What's
He's
the lowest?
3 points away from being in the threes. I bet you 0. Like you could probably have 0.
The lowest credit score is 300. That's the lowest possible credit score.
That is
fucking low.
Oh my God.
I don't understand because on the rental listing, it says the minimum it's 550 or 600. I don't remember. But like we only have 3 things: 2.5 times rent, a minimum of credit score of like 550 or 600, and then no prior evictions. That's it. That's the only things you have
550? God damn.
550 is low, bro. You're going to get some shit bags at 550.
Well, some of the places that I own, you almost
and C neighborhoods. Yeah, that's what
shit bags.
I learned that.
Keep the shit bags in check.
Well, I learned that.
They need a place to live
the hard
too.
way with the rentals is that if you're in a C neighborhood, or I don't invest in D neighborhoods, but if you're in a C neighborhood, you're not going to get a tenant with good credit and good income to rent it. It's just the fucking truth. So don't think you're going to get a 730 credit with 3x rent, like living in a
That's where you have to
area.
You have to trust your gut at some point. And if you have a really poor judge of character, you probably shouldn't be placing tenants. Like if you have a good judge of character and you can, some people are like, I got divorced, I had this happen, whatever.
And that's understandable.
Happens, right? And but if they're a good person, then you can usually tell and like, yeah, fine, they'll be all right. Because like some of our C-class tenants are the longest standing tenants we've had that pay every single month.
They're the best, man. Honestly, like the couple A-class rentals I own, they were I've sold them now, but they were the worst rentals because they turned every single year.
Yeah.
They were the kind of tenants that are like, well, the light's out in the kitchen.
Yes, they'll bitch about anything.
And they're like coming to like hit you up on stuff. Whereas the C tenants are like, just fucking stay out of my place.
Yes.
I don't want you to see the 7 turtles that I have in the guest room.
Yeah.
So
dude,
don't come over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care what you're doing as long as it's the same when you leave as when you showed up. That's all I want.
I had a guy. It's funny you say that. You're like making me like cringe because I moved in this was actually last month. So I had this one vacancy and this was the one my cousin was going to re-rent, but he fucked me over. But we moved in a super qualified co-signer who makes good money in Westchester County, which is a very expensive area. And this guy is like savvy as fuck. And it was for his son and it's his son's first place. And obviously it's not like the Taj Mahal, but it's like a totally legit place. And I went above and beyond to make sure that they felt comfortable. They kept busting my shit before the lease started. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I said, listen, get your shit, get out. I'm going to give you all your freaking money back. This is not going to be a good fit. And I just said, get the fuck out of here. Cause you don't want
yourself a lot of headache.
Yeah. You're like, I'd rather have this thing sit vacant than have some prick calling me about a light bulb, So I just said, dude, and that's the second time I've done that.
Yeah.
Because it's not worth it.
And that is like a powerful move that a landlord can do is like either that cash for keys or like giving their money back is similar to cash for keys, right? The problem is people get so afraid of confrontation. They're like, well, I got to get a lawyer. I got to serve them. 99% of the time, you're better off just like calling and being like, hey, look, there's obviously a problem here. If you leave like this weekend, then we can just forget all this shit. You can move on. I don't need to take you to court. We don't need to waste a bunch of money. Like whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And we've had that solved pretty much every single one. I think we've only ever had to do one like full eviction, Dan. And that one was like a whole other issue.
How long is the eviction process in Eastern Washington compared to King County?
Like 3 to 4 months.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, it does okay.
It's 45 days in Hamilton County, Ohio.
That's really good. That's really good. I'm 7 months.
But
no,
well, to the point, like some of these people aren't able to have conversations or they don't like conflict. And I just bought a duplex. You guys are actually doing the refi on it. And it's a good neighborhood built in 1990, 3-bed, 1.5 bath on each side, 1-car garage. They're rented at $800 and $850 respectively. And I we bought it. I called him. I was like, hey, like, I'm sorry if you want to say your rent's going to be $1,500 a month because the next closest I can find is $1,600 a month for 3 bedrooms. Both of them are like, done deal. Don't want to do it. Fine. Signed a lease, and I did nothing to the place, and we created that much value just because the previous person wasn't able to have the conversation.
Wasn't willing to have a conversation.
Yeah. I mean, Dan and I made a killing that way during COVID, especially because there was so many rules around what you're allowed to do with tenants. We didn't want to mess with it. Like we would flip houses where we would literally just go and buy it. And then in order to get the tenants out in Washington, you had to like list the property on the market to have an intent to sell. Then you could give them a notice with intent to sell, right? That so they needed to leave. So we would just list the house like right away and then go and serve notice like, yeah, we're selling. You got 90 days to get out. And then most of the time they would leave relatively quickly. Other times they would wait until day 89 and then they would leave. But like it was relatively simple to do, you know, and we had ones where we were buying from like well-to-do landlords who just didn't want to have like that monthly deficit on their balance sheet, right? Because the person stopped paying rent or whatever. But it was pretty easy. Like we wholetailed so many deals that we did almost nothing to during that period.
We did.
But it's harder now because those people have nowhere to go because they can't afford.
That's the problem, dude. That's what I've noticed is that in a perfect world, you buy a rental property when there's a tenant inside and they're paying like $1,700 when market rent's probably like $2,200. And you bump them up to like 2,000 and they're not like a terrorist and they stay for a while. That's like your perfect situation because then you don't got to go wrestle around and find another tenant and do all that bullshit. But I've noticed that a lot of the best deals I bought, like the tenant was so fucked up, like, and I got it so cheap. I just was like, okay, this is going to be like a 1-year project to get this knucklehead out. But I got this at 65 on the dollar minus repairs. So like I have so much room on this deal. Even when I cash out refi it at 70 or 75, like it's not going to matter because I bought it so cheap. And I was like incentivized to take that bad tenant on. But it's hard to relocate people now, especially in like, you know, the really blue cities, right?
Especially if they're tenants. They don't have any money when they're tenants. If they're owners at least might have some equity. They can
owners have some equity.
Yep. Sometimes, but honestly, the big challenge is owners, especially if they're distressed, they have trouble coming to the realization they're going to have to not be owners anymore, right? And they're wanting to buy houses that are typically nicer than the shithole that they're moving out of, but they're not getting enough money out of it because they always have liens and other bullshit right now. And so, and they're also not going to get qualified to buy anything because they tend to make no money. And with interest rates at 7%, their debt to income is never going to allow them to qualify for a loan. I mean, Dan, do you think 80% plus of our deals are having some kind of holdback, like rent back right now? At least. It's like,
I was thinking about that. I was like, this is kind of stupid. Like
it sucks.
I was like hating on my sellers for the moment because I was just so annoyed with them. And I was like, the normal person, like when I move, I buy a house, then I move into it, then I sell my house. That's what I do. I don't freaking sell my house, then need to buy a house, then move out on the exact same day, and then need 10 days to move out. And then, by the way, I told you I'd be out, but then my husband dropped a couch on his foot, and so it took slower. It's like, no, you got drunk and decided not to do anything over the weekend. So we've got 80%.
Dude, I've noticed that in Washington. I got one in Marysville. The guy rented it back for 10 or 7 days, and then I'm buying another one in the city of Seattle, and he wants like a 1 month rent back. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like I'll leave 20 grand in escrow. It's $100 a day if I'm not out. And he's like,
well, here's the problem with ours. A lot of the people we have now too, is like, they don't have any money to leave in escrow because they need every penny.
So I won't do it if they don't leave money in escrow.
But we don't have a choice. Our values aren't as high as yours. They haven't grown as much. Right. And so like especially we've had so many that have like judgments or they've had forbearance on their mortgage. And so they get their payoff and it's $45,000 higher than they were expecting.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what are they supposed to do? We had one that was supposed to close tomorrow. That was a 16 grand gap on it all of a sudden.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, and that was her, her spread.
What's your collateral? So if you do a rent back and they don't leave anything behind, what's this? If they don't leave, then you just do an eviction. You get them to sign a stipulation for settlement. Like, how do you?
Yeah, I mean that's not our go-to. Like that's like the worst case scenario. But we've had that happen right now, and like you kind of have to judge the people and make sure that they're good enough to do it. And we'll show up and move them if they don't get out. Because you're not doing it so that they can find a place like to go find a place. Like we have the escrow our escrow agent is working with the buy side escrow agent, so they're not even getting the funds to close on that house, right? Unless we're seeing it transition over. So we know they don't want to be there. They're actually buying a house and they're getting recording numbers on their new house. So like that's like our safety net is, generally speaking, they don't want to be in the shithole that they are sold to us because they have a new house that's going to be a shithole in a few months.
It's going to be. I had a house one time. We bought it from this guy, and he was a complete set. Hey, actually, we did a rent back with him. Actually, that was he almost fucked himself too because he overstayed his welcome. He overstayed his welcome, and my final offer was I will hire a driver to pick you up at your fucking house. And drive you to a hotel room that I will pay for a week if you just get out of this goddamn house.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah,
we've done that before.
We flipped a 7-unit apartment complex, and literally all we did was get all of the people out of it because it was just like it was just a hellhole, dude. So and we were able to get some out relatively easy. One we had to get like CPS involved, and it was a real mess because there was a super abusive dad situation. And then there was the meth head, and he like was the last one to get out, and finally he shook us down for $5,000. And our guy's there to give him the $5,000. He goes, "I'm not leaving unless I can have the fridge." And they're like, "Just take it, dude." So he like gets his crackhead friend out of the little, Ford Escape or whatever they had, and they like shoveled it out of the apartment and just heaved the thing onto the roof of this car and strapped it down and just took off. Their shitty fridge and $5,000.
I gotta go check out Spokane, dude.
This is
come over, dude.
This is off market operator, like this spill the beans episode, man.
Yeah. I've seen crazy shit, but I haven't. I mean, that's like some straight, like
Oh, dude. So this unit, this whole property, the best story of this whole one, though. Okay, so for all of these units, there's 7 units in like this little thing. It was like a 4-unit on one side, a 3 on the other, with a common courtyard area. And so we bought it from the slumlords from Seattle who were just real dirtbags, right? And they had their on-site property manager who lived in one of the units who was like super helpful. She would like, work with us to collect rent and do all these sort of things. Well, we're literally going to sell it, right? I'm like driving home and from somewhere. I don't know if it was like the closing or what it was, but I suddenly get a phone call from the city and they're like, "Hey, do you know Rochelle?" I'm like, I think so. What's your last name? Like, I was like, yeah, that's one of my tenants. She goes, "Oh, one of your tenants?" I was like, "Don't they own this property?" And like, there's a property address. I'm like, "No, they live there. They're one of the owners." And like, "Oh, well, they've been getting COVID rent relief for that address." And I'm like, "What?" And basically, long story short, what this lady had been doing. So we had all these tenants that were like not paying rent, quote unquote. No, they had been paying Rochelle rent, who was supposed to give it to us. She was just pocketing that money. Mm-hmm. And then she had her like 21-year-old son who got all of his friends to sign fake leases and basically say that we were on hardship, and they filed it with the city. So she was collecting all the rent of the existing tenants plus collecting rent relief for 7 units from the city.
Dude, and just making bank
and just making off like a bandit. And like, I'm getting this phone call. And the city's like, "Well, what do you want to do about it?" I was like, "I don't know, bro. I'm selling this thing tomorrow. This sounds like a you problem. See you guys later." And I don't know whatever came of it.
It was like, dude, it reminds me like when I went and visited her, because you go into her like apartment, she had all this like brand new shit in
like
the middle
new TVs, like multiple TVs,
leather couches, like the walls were stacked with shit in boxes, like brand new stuff. And it just reminds me like some sort of like episode of Trailer Park Boys where like they've got some hustle where they're like freaking getting everybody's rent and stealing it. Shit. Like
snapping it around.
Yeah. Oh
yeah, exactly, dude. It was just like, what the hell?
And they're like, "Oh, she's got a job. She's like the one that has her life together. TVs aren't that expensive." Yeah, but 9 TVs is.
Yeah. So bad. Dude.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. You guys got some redneck shit out there, dude.
I mean,
that's like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a rodeo, dude.
There was a period of time, man, where like now I feel like it settled down, honestly. But in 2020, especially during like the COVID period, when everyone that was selling their house was like a psycho, because everyone else was kind of just like waiting for it to be over or whatever. Every deal we had was fucking insane. It was like the next deal was more insane than the previous one, over and over and over and over.
That's why we started this show.
Was literally why we started.
We're like, we got to tell somebody. We got to tell the world the shit we'd see every day.
Oh my god.
I feel like you guys are in the perfect market for like crazy. I don't know anything about that area, but like it just seems to me like it's like there's enough people to where there's a relatively decent sized market, but it's not like Seattle where you're dealing with like Microsoft tech people making like good money for a while.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so Dan brought this up on our scale call that we had earlier today. Is there's like this entitlement factor that people have here, and I don't know where it comes from, because when we ran our like national company, we didn't see the sort of attitude that sellers have here. Like they'd be like, yeah, I really fucked up. Like, here's the situation, whatever. And you sell, like, oh, I got the house from my grandma. She had issues. There's all these liens. Here it's like, my grandma was a crackhead. She's like, no, my house is worth $400,000 and you're going to fucking pay me that.
Oh, and
like,
I'm not
why?
going to move. I'm not going to move out when I'm supposed to. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything you're asking me to do contractually. And then I'm going to be fucking mad at you. It's like, what the hell? That's
Totally,
exactly
dude.
what it's like. Every single transaction.
Everyone, man. They'll fight
That
you.
doesn't
tooth
really
and nail.
happen in Seattle that much.
Greg, I got a question from you to get rid of your Pacific Northwest cities. You've been doing this for 10 years. And you just said that right now it's kind of like, kind of easy on both fronts right now, or easier. Is there a time frame, like, I don't know, from like the 2015 to 2020 time frame that you can compare this to? And like what works then versus what works now?
Yeah. So I'll give you the evolution. So when I first got started, I didn't know what I was doing. So that was a huge problem.
No one does. Yeah.
But despite that, it was very easy to get deals. Like once I got my shit together and I started understanding marketing and systems, I mean, dude, before 2019, you could literally spend like $1,500 on mailers and get a deal, like clockwork, sometimes two. So it was like the amount of saturation wasn't there, especially in New York, because that's a really hard place to operate in. And I was from there, so it like gave me a huge advantage. So that was like really fucking easy to get deals. And like you were spending like practically nothing in ad spend to get like actual deals under contract. And then if you flipped them, the market was hot. If you wholesaled them, if you got it at the right price, you could get a buyer. So like basically from like 2018 all the way up until like 2021-ish, it was like getting a little bit harder, but not terribly hard. Like once like 21 came around, I just noticed that like the market of real estate investing got like really saturated. Like softwares came out, YouTube exploded, even though it was still big. And like the cost to get a deal through advertising went from like 3,000 or 4,000 to like 7,000 to 8,000. And I was like, damn, like this is crazy. I got to spend way more money to get the same fucking profit. Like this kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So I've just seen it like constantly like rise and rise and rise and rise. And now I'm seeing it kind of like taper off. Like it's still pretty high. It's like 8 to 10, but I don't see it really getting any harder now. And at least like currently, like what's it, July, I'm seeing it get a little bit cheaper. I don't know if that's going to stay or go, but
so your cost per deal right now is between 8 to 10 grand,
like $8,000 to $10,000. Yeah,
that's pretty high for my market.
But in my market, it's really expensive, right? So like the median house price in New York is like 600 grand.
Yeah, true.
So
and your
really
and your profit per deal is probably larger because of those higher numbers.
Yes, like an assignment deal in New York is like $30,000 to $50,000.
Yeah, see, that'd be a killer deal for me.
Because it's not. You're talking about a house that's worth 600, right? So
exactly
to get a 30 or 40K spread, it's not that hard because if you're getting it at the right number, it's all relative to based on the sales price.
Yeah, the ratio is about the same, versus what your cost per deal versus your revenue per deal.
Like I got a buddy who just closed a wholesale deal today in the New York area. He made $130,000 in a wholesale.
There you go.
Right. So and we did one 2 weeks ago. It was 110 or 105. So it's like, because you got so much margin on these fucking houses. Because if you're getting like
highest wholesale deal ever, I think is 80 grand.
That's really that's good anywhere. 80 grand.
No, but I'm saying out of 150 so deals, like
but Dylan's in Cincinnati where houses cost 100 grand in a Cracker Jack.
Yeah, if you can make an 80 pop,
you stole that house, Dylan.
Yeah, that's
a buyer stole that house.
I did a video. I recorded a video. I don't think I published it yet, but I was like, if you want to like be in an expensive market, like it's worth it, because if you want to make like 6-figure spreads, it's not that well. It's hard, but it's not. It's a lot easier to make a 6-figure spread in a market where the ARV is 550 plus. Versus if you're in like, Kansas or something, like, and the houses are worth 200 grand, the only way to really make 100 grand is if the seller like pays you to buy their house. Right. Like,
totally.
You know what I mean? It's really, the numbers don't really work. So, I've just found like being in an expensive market, whether it's Seattle or New York.
You still do mostly direct mail then as your channel, or like
what? Mail and Google search. Now we just
mail and Google search
and YouTube ads as well, which has worked really well.
YouTube has
ads for sellers.
Yeah. That is something.
Got a bunch of tech guys over there.
Yeah, totally. That would never work in Spokane.
Yeah, dude. The cost. This is crazy. The cost to get a gross lead, not a net lead, is like $85 in Seattle off a YouTube ad to get a straight conversion on my website.
Really?
Yeah,
that seems pretty.
That's a gross lead though. That's not qualified.
I understand. It's not qualified. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
still not bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
but you
like,
need probably 3 or 4 to get a net lead. So it's really like
Sure.
$400.
see, most of our sellers can barely even do a DocuSign, dude.
Yeah, I had to
Like,
drop an addendum off at a seller's house yesterday because he can't do a DocuSign.
yeah.
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 I get
all the
that all
time.
the time.
I had a lady last week. It took 25 minutes to get her. Did you hit finish? Did you hit next? Did you draw your signature?
You love
Hit
that.
continue.
It's like,
I mean, at
Yeah.
least you could do that, man. Like,
yeah.
which we're still getting landline calls in.
Yeah,
Out of
that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty
Seriously.
crazy. I've noticed out here the percentage of people who will sign a DocuSign is pretty high in Seattle.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Like you got people who know what they're doing. Like they're not like I just got a house under the one in Tacoma I was telling you about offline. It's like that guy savvy, knows what he's doing. He was just a big procrastinator, but he knew what was up. Like I sent him the DocuSign, he got it back right away, like no issues. So you definitely see a little bit more of a savvy profile of seller. And I've noticed too here, like they're not really distressed necessarily, like maybe a little bit, but they're more of just like, okay, I know my house is worth 700. I'm going to sell it for 450 because I don't want to fucking deal with it. Like I'm not like stupid or desperate. Like,
Yeah. I think it goes back to like with our market, just the entitlement of the sellers. It's like, I'm not going to do DocuSign because that's too hard for me. And
that doesn't happen.
And people have just catered to it, right? Like, oh, I'm old. I don't want to do it. So we have a lot of people like that. Like, just like, you're not even fucking trying. Like, just try.
Yeah.
Just try in life.
Yeah.
So,
wow. That's crazy.
yeah. Well, awesome, man. I'm glad it's going well.
What something else I wanted to bring up. I know we were texting last night, Mike. So I made that Facebook post with the ChatGPT. I wanted to bring that up because I had an epiphany the other day.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Right. So it's a good topic because Dan and I also have a very relevant example for this to talk about.
Yeah. So basically, long story short, I was thinking I've been using AI like crazy. I mean, it's like the cat's out of the bag. Like it's going to take the fucking world over. So you might as well learn it before it, runs you over. So I was thinking, I'm like, all right, I got a decent assignment agreement, but it's definitely got some holes in it. And I got this house over in Pierce County that I'm assigning right now. And the buyer's being a complete clown, right? And like, I think he'll probably close, but if he doesn't close, then I got to like fucking get the cancellation letter and get you know what I mean? It's a whole fucking racket out here. So I'm like, what if I add language to my assignment agreement that says, first of all, it's not binding until the earnest money clears escrow. Second of all, if the buyer doesn't close on the date of the contract for no reason of the seller or the assignor, then it's an automatic default, no cancellation. Like it's guaranteed default. Like you don't have to even send a notice out. It's automatically they defaulted. And then the earnest money is automatically forfeited, right? Assuming there's no issue to the seller or the assigner, like if title's clear and there's no issues. And then also it gives me the ability to take back control over the property instantly if they default, because when you assign a contract, technically you assign your contract to someone else for a fee and they're in full control of the transaction. You basically can't do shit. So it basically gives me control back of my deal. And then also it allows me to accept backup offers and basically put them into escrow in case the buyer fucks me. So I had ChatGPT and a couple like legal documents I have basically put together this like bulletproof assignment. Obviously it has to go to court if, we have to use it, but basically protects me as a wholesaler. I see a lot of people, the wholesalers get involved in a deal. They assign it to somebody else. Maybe they know what they're doing. Maybe they don't know what they're doing, but basically they give up in complete control of their deal. And now, like, the success of the transaction is in someone else's hands. And if you don't never work with them before, you have no fucking clue if it's going to work. So I basically reshifted my assignment agreement to where if the buyer fucks up and it's no fault of the seller or the wholesaler, the contract automatically comes back into me. I'm back in full control and I can close it cash or whatever. And then the deposit automatically gets released to me as liquidated damages. And then I can accept a backup offer basically before we even close with the first offer. So if that guy fucks me, I have the backup offer in place to basically close at the same time. So I'm just trying to tighten up my business and just, when you do a bunch of deals, you see like shit go sideways and you're always trying to like fix it. So that's what I've
So in that situation, are you basically lining up a lender for every single deal just in case they don't come through?
If it's really cheap, I'll just buy it cash. Like if it's like sub 250, I'll take it cash. But if it's like a big buy or something, and I know the buyer's going to fuck me and I have like a 3 or 4 day notice, I can probably get a private money lender to fund that.
So
it might have to extend the closing. We may have to extend it 3 or 4 business days, but if it's that good of a deal and the buyer ultimately fucks me and I have like a 2 to 3 day notice, I can get funding within like 3 to 5 business days.
Right. Well, here's another fun hack you can add to your contracts to make that even easier is you can say that you have the right to extend closing up to 7 days without needing approval of other parties. That way, if you do have to extend it, you don't have to get any assignment or any addendum signed or anything. You can just do it.
Dude, that's interesting. I should throw that in there.
We started doing that because nobody out here uses DocuSign, and we would like have a property that we were buying out in like rural Idaho, and we would get delayed just because, you know, funds didn't clear in time. And the escrow company would be like, well, you need to get a addendum signed to extend it for 24 hours. I'm like, I'm not driving out to fucking Kellogg to meet a guy in a bar to get a thing like paper signed because
just make it up on PDF at that point and send it to me.
Yeah. I would never commit fraud like that, Greg.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that makes sense though. And then I guess on that piece, like where it comes weird is, I guess with that sort of viewpoint is you are fully prepared to close on every deal that you contract. What if you don't actually believe in the deal as like
that's a good point. So we have a company policy where if we're going to assign the property and only assign it, like if the buyer doesn't come through, we're not buying it. The seller knows before we even tie it up that it's basically contingent upon another buyer coming in and closing.
Okay, cool. So you make it clear.
So like basically like in New York, it's a little harder because you get lawyers involved and then, you know, everyone's got their opinion. But like in Washington State, like we'll just throw in like, this is basically like we're like a glorified middleman, right? Mm-hmm. We're most likely going to assign this. You know, if we don't find a buyer, we're canceling. Like we have 10 days to let you know if we're going to find a buyer or whatever we want to decide. So the risk there is like, let's say we go and we get a buyer and, you know, we tell them, hey, we got a buyer, we're good to go. And then at the day of the closing, the buyer bails, you know, in that case, we would be forewarned.
Yeah. Sometimes it's easier too, because if you need to get multiple people in and the seller knows like, oh, they're bringing other potential buyers, not their contractor, not their insurance guy, not their appraiser.
Yeah. Well, that's all just,
exactly.
Like contractor coming in to look at the same house. Yeah. I mean, like the guy, I'll give you an example. So the guy in Tacoma, the one I was telling you about offline, this guy was like a 7-month follow-up. He was like the flake of all flakes. It was like impossible to get this guy to commit to doing the deal. So when he called me back, because I wasn't even calling him, he literally emailed me and called me. He's like, yo, are you ready to do the deal? I'm like, I haven't heard from you in fucking 3 months. Like, I guess so. So I called him and I was like, listen, I'm still down to do this, but like this has been going on for like a long ass time. Are you cool if I just assign this, which means I have like 5 business days to get an end buyer to pay more than I'm paying you? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. I don't give a fuck. As long as I get my 240, I don't care. So
that makes your life so much easier, not having to play the bullshit games.
Yeah, you're just being real with them, you know? Yeah. And the same thing with novations. Like I see a lot of people like do novations like really slimy and shady. And I'm like, dude, you're fucking putting their house on the MLS. You're like a glorified realtor. So if you don't tell them what you're doing, they're going to get really pissed and the deal's going to die. Like guaranteed.
And which is why like that kind of stuff is why legislation is coming in against wholesaling. Because people do that shit right there.
Exactly. Slimy shit.
Yeah, they're taught to like not say it's going to be on the market. It's like, well, when they see their house on Zillow for $80,000 more than you're giving them, like they might be stupid, but they're not that stupid.
I know. And also like, too, when your agent wants to have like an open house or people just want to like stop by the house to check it out all the time, what are you going to tell them? You know, it's like a family that's coming to look at the house they're buying an innovation. They're like, oh yeah, it's their plumber and his wife and kids.
Dude, I've had people. So I've done videos on novations, and I've had people like kind of chirp me on it because they like just saying like, oh, I don't agree with novations or whatever. But I don't think there's anything wrong with a novation if you're doing it above board. Like I don't think there's a single thing wrong with it whatsoever. I think it's honestly cleaner than an assignment because with a novation, like you have to be transparent because you're doing all this extra shit.
Well, and there's probably a lender involved. They're like, you know, on the novation side and buyer side, right? So
totally.
Yeah. I think I got no problems with novations. I think even two people say like, oh, well, if you're doing a novation and you're not doing any work, what value are you bringing? I'm like, are you fucking high? We're professional sellers. Like we literally sell houses for a living. So we know exactly how to make sure the buyer's not a bullshitter, how to make sure they're pre-qualified, do the punch list items, make sure the house is going to pass inspection. I have one right now, $30,000 we had to spend to get the oil tank that was buried in the ground remediated because there was a whole state case opened. Like we're bringing all this value to the seller. And yeah, we had to pay 30 grand to get that freaking remediated. And the seller doesn't have to pay for that. So if she didn't have us in the picture, she would have been screwed.
Yeah, totally. That's 100% more than a freaking real estate agent who would just be like, well, all I do is call people. And so there's an oil tank in your backyard. And I mean, I don't know if you don't have the money. I don't know what to do. Either do I.
Yeah. And also, I think you're being generous, Dan. You're saying the agents are going to call people? No, they're going to wait for people to call them. They're not doing
this. Is true. This is true. Okay. Sorry. I overstepped. My bad.
Novations are fucking awesome. Like if you do them the right way and you communicate them effectively, like number one, they're not as hard to like convert. I mean, they're not easy, but they're not like impossible. And you can actually bring mega value to a seller. Because if you actually like when you're flipping houses and you do fix and flips a lot, like, okay, where is this house going to get fucked on inspection? How do we fix that preventatively? What buyer is going to fuck me with an offer to get me in the door, but then cancel 2 days before closing? Mm-hmm. How legit is their lender? Are they real? Do they have we literally do all this for a living because it's usually our money on the line. But when you do a novation, they get all the value of like a flipper's knowledge without having to take a super, super, super low ball offer. And, usually we make like 20 or 30 grand on a novation. And it's like, if you're a seller, you're getting 30 grand more than what we would offer you cash. You got to wait like 2 or 3 months because you can't really get around that, but you don't have to worry about anything else. And if you're I think it's a great, I freaking love them, dude. We just do more of them every single year now because we get more comfortable with them. And I believe in the actual offering a lot more than I did when I started.
Right. For sure. Awesome, man. Well, you should come back and tell us about more how you're putting those together. Cause I think that
would
be a very
somewhat frequent guest, man. You guys got a good show going. I love it.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah. I'd love to just hear more about how you're putting those novations together. I know it's a very common question that gets asked a lot and there's a lot of that information out there. So we'll try to do that in the next couple of weeks here. I'll talk to you after the show.
That'd be a good novation show.
Yeah. Right on. All right, guys. Well, we got to wrap up here. Greg, real quick, one more time, where can people find you, follow you, reach out to you?
They can go to my Instagram, which is @Grego37 and follow me on YouTube, youtube.com/@Greg Helbeck, REI. And we put out 2 to 3 videos a week. So if you want more of my content, that's where you'll find it.
There you go. We'll go check him out, guys. In case you can't tell, he fits in with the collecting keys vibe very, very well. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for listening. Please share the show with all your friends, real estate involved or not. I mean, I think there's always something that somebody can gain out of just hearing people talk about making money in business and investing, all that sort of stuff. So we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
See ya.
See ya.